Good morning. Welcome to the February 20th Punta Gorda City Council meeting. Let the record reflect that all council members and city officials are present. Let's stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Father in heaven, we ask that you bless our meeting today and uplift our thoughts so that we may communicate with each other with a deep understanding of the needs of those we serve. We give grateful thanks for the friendships this association offers us and the inspiration we receive from each other. Let respect for the others and their idea be the standard. May thy grace be with this council and their appointed staff and guide them in fulfillment of their duties. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. It's great to see so many people out here today. I know you're just, you came here just for the entire agenda. There was no particular item on the agenda that drew you here, so thank you for being here today. There has been a request for an adjustment to the agenda.
Yeah, there's an item under the city attorney's time. One of the parties to the litigation against the city has asked that item be moved further ahead in the agenda. So I'm passing that on to you if you wish to act on that, or just leave it the way it is.
I'm inclined to leave it the way it is.
I think we got an awful lot on the plate. There's a lot of people from pickleball and 100 people here. I think we kind of need to stick to the agenda.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I also want to let you know that there are two items on the agenda that are being continued to March the 6th. And the first one is item 5B, relocation of access road proposal, Washington Loop Road, City of Punta Gorda water plant. And the second one is item 7A, Peace River Wildlife Center, Lee's Dundee Road site. So those two have been moved. So that brings us to the first item on the agenda, and the recognition of former mayor and city council member Rachel Kiesling. And I'm going to do this from the podium. Good morning. Rachel, would you like to come up? I hope everyone, can you hear this okay if we stand here like? So, in reflecting on what we were going to do today, I remember when I first met then Councilmember-elect Rachel Kiesling, and her mother-in-law told me when I was shopping, said, you need to meet Rachel. She's really going to do a great job. And you have. And then you called me over to your house to help with a Rugo's spiraling whitefly situation because I'm a Florida master gardener. And that was before I got on council. So your record here, serving as a council member from 2010 to 2018, and vice mayor 2012 to 2013, and then you were the mayor in 2013 to 14, and the reason why it's because of our fiscal year spans calendar years. And then November 2015 to November 2018, you were the chair for the 125th anniversary celebration.
Yes.
I loved your Southern Belle outfit that you wore.
Thank you.
It was charming. And you, weren't you the innovator or the person who led the start of the Halloween
Yes.
event?
And the ladies over there?
Yes. So it was a group effort?
Yes.
Yes, I know you've had many wonderful costumes. Is there a favorite?
No.
No?
No favorite.
Okay. And then you also led, along with a number of other people, the Light Up the Night event, which has really been a great event, our Christmas tree lighting event. And I know that you, do you ever put anything in your hot chocolate?
No, I don't.
Okay. You also then served on the Tourist Development Council. You also served as our representative to the Charlotte Harbor Environmental Center. the Southwest Florida Regional Planning Council. A number of us have done that one. The Arts and Humanities Council liaison, and Drug Free Punta Gorda liaison. You were the City of Punta Gorda representative to the Southwest Florida League of Cities, and you were working up to be the president-elect. And by the way, now, you want to tell us what your new position
Sure,
is?
I have a new position, and I am the executive director now of the Southwest Florida League of Cities. So I'm not volunteering anymore, I'm paid staff, which is,
Well, it's a really wonderful thing for the Southwest Florida League of Cities. Before, the person who had that position was, her responsibility was keep Lee County beautiful. And just like keep Charlotte County beautiful, that's a full-time job. So the Southwest Florida League of Cities really just got very little time and effort. I think we're really fortunate to have Rachel there, who's really going to help the region
yes.
actually with our legislative agenda and among other things, and really create a presence. Because I know when I became the mayor and I was trying to figure out who do I contact, I couldn't even find out that information on the League of Cities website. So I think Rachel's going to do a great job there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then you, as far as the League of Cities, you were part of the Fast Fly into Washington, D.C., the Policy Committee, which I did join,
Great,
because I knew that that was one of the ones that we as a council wanted to make sure we participated in. You were part of the Nominating Committee, Federal Action Strike Team. You were on their Board of Directors, and you also were on the Board of Directors of the Florida League of Mayors.
yes.
One busy person. So, anyway, we have some things here to present to you, but I also have a letter that came in, and it was addressed to me, and I thought if you don't mind, I might read this.
Sure.
So this letter is addressed, says, as president of the Southwest chapter of the Florida League of Cities, I am pleased that you all are recognizing Rachel Kiesling's years of service to government in Punta Gorda and all Southwest Florida. I first met Rachel 4 years ago when I joined the Southwest chapter of Florida League of Cities. In fact, Rachel was my mentor, teaching me about the various roles as an officer in the chapter. Whether it was at a Florida League of Cities conference or serving on a team representing the league in Washington, D.C., Rachel was always there to assist in protocol and presentation. As our new executive director for our Southwest chapter, Rachel's experience, passion, and knowledge of local, state, and federal government will help address the many issues facing our region. She is collaborative and exemplifies the core competences needed to lead and manage our league. Congratulations to Rachel. She can be proud of her service and new journey in making Southwest Florida a better place. Regards, Bill Ribble, Vice Mayor, Village of Estero, President, Southwest Chapter, Florida League of Cities.
Yes.
Tell you, Rachel, you don't know this, but when I attended my first meeting, it was very obvious that the group is a very tight group. They've known each other for a while. And then when we had a conference call to vote on the new executive director, when they went around the call and asked for people to vote, it wasn't just it was I. It was a very vigorous vote, so you have a lot of support. So what we want to present to you is your official name badge.
Yay, thank you.
Former mayor, with the new city logo on it.
Thank you.
And we have a plaque for your wall of fame at home with a gavel on it.
Nice.
And it says, in honor of Rachel Kiesling, distinguished member of the Punta Gorda City Council, 2010 through 2018, Punta Gorda Mayor, 2013 through 2014, and 2015 through 2018. Presented by City Council, City of Punta Gorda, Florida, this 20th day of February 2019.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Now, I know it's been my honor and privilege to serve with you, but there are a number of other people here that also would like to say a few words. So I'm going to step up into the dais, and I'm going to let some of these people come up and say what they'd like to say.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Well, Carolyn Freeland, again, former mayor, welcome to the club.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure working with you, and it has always been, in terms of our council, whatever we did it together, we did it as a team. And while we didn't always agree with one another, there was always respect and always agreement at the end that this was the decision that was made by the council. But thank you for being my partner on council, and welcome to the club.
Thank you, Carolyn.
I'm Bill Albers, also a former mayor. And you heard all the things that Nancy just said about Rachel and all the things she did, and I want to tell you, she did all that and more, and it wasn't delegated to her. She volunteered for most of it. We wouldn't have had a 125th year anniversary if it wasn't for Rachel, or many, many other things. So she's done a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Good morning. Harvey Goldberg, former city council member and mayor. And I'm guilty of dragging Rachel into this job, as she says sometimes. But they're not, and it's wonderful to have the ceremony and enumerate all the things that Rachel has done and accomplished and contributed to the city. There's not enough time this morning to really go into all the detail, but just to know that this is a grateful city for everything that Rachel has done and dedicated and given and brought about to happiness, and we're eternally grateful.
Thank you.
Good morning. Kim Devine, former vice mayor, city council member. I served with Rachel for 4 years. I want to thank you for all of your service and all of that you've done. You made Punta Gorda a better place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Cavanaugh, former council member. I never made it to either vice mayor or mayor. It's a privilege and an honor to have served with you, and thank you for all that you have done for our community.
Thank you, Tom.
Hi, Alexia Martin. I'm actually a resident for Punta Gorda, and I have to say the tree lighting ceremony, up until the last 2 years, 3 years, it has been phenomenal. And everybody that comes over the bridge is always that issue. So they're coming over the bridge in leaps and bounds from Northport around because of this wonderful tree lighting ceremony that Rachel started and really supervised with a huge team of volunteers. So thank you so much for making our community a major lighting event. So thank you so much.
Oh, gosh.
Is it my turn?
Sure. I think so.
Okay. So on behalf of the entire city organization, we thank you so much for your youthful energy.
Oh, thank you.
You brought enthusiasm to us, kept us moving forward, kept the city moving forward, progressing. Even if there were some difficult issues, we persevered. And we will never forget that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that 8 years flew by, it really did, and that I'm very proud of my service. And not only did I get to work with great city people at the city of Punta Gorda, but made a lot of friends, and will continue to work with them. So thank you again.
You're welcome. Any council members have any comments?
Yes.
Don't leave.
First of all, I've had the privilege of serving as vice mayor for 2 terms underneath Rachel. I always appreciated the calls I would get when she said, I have to be in 2 places at one time, can you fill in for me? I always did that with grace. Great. She's always shown everything with grace. She's been a dear friend, both up here and behind the scenes and personally. I thank you. I love you. You know that. I'm sorry, but I have to say that she even gave us a gift of green eggs and ham the other day. It wasn't the book. That just shows the detail that she has. When I make some of my jokes, she'll always throw it back at me, and I've always appreciated it. Again, I love you, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
sweetheart.
Also, I just wanted to say that, yeah, Rachel really elevated the role of mayor for our town to a level, I mean, a serious level. Also, on a state level, her being on the board of directors for the Florida League of Cities really has brought Punta Gorda into the state level in terms of the play. And so just thank you for opening that door for us.
Thank you. I will continue.
My honor to serve with you on the Florida,
Yes, yes.
Southwest Florida League of Cities. So,
Thank you so much.
you're welcome. Okay. We will now have another service award.
So we have 2 service awards, 15 years of service. Let's start with Mr. GQ. Is Mr. GQ out in the, you have no idea who I'm talking about, by the way. Okay. 15 years of service for Larry Schrader, and our chief, Pam Davis, will say a few words about him. Larry was going to retire God knows how long ago, and he keeps extending it. I don't even know if he is going to ever retire, but he's got 15 years of service. He's Mr. GQ because as soon as he got out of the school resource officer, he put a suit on and a hat and as a detective. And Mr. GQ, Larry Schrader, 15 years of service.
All right, well, you guys don't want me to talk today, so I'm going to have Captain Nar speak. He has sentimental purposes of doing this, and I think you'd rather hear from him today anyways.
Hello. I just have to tell you, it's an honor right now to speak for Larry Schrader. I've got the pleasure of working with him for 10 years, and it's always a surprise with him. He's a wealth of knowledge. Prior to joining us, he earned a doctorate of education administration and spent 32 years with the Haverhill Park Central School District, where he retired as an elementary school principal. Upon moving down here, he thought he was going to retire. He joined our reserve unit just to volunteer a few hours in 2003. Shortly after, in 2004, he became a full-time member of our department. He served on patrol for several years and was a Marine officer. In 2005, all the way through April of 2016, he served as the school resource officer at Charlotte High School, which he was able to use his former career and his current career and totally excelled in that position. In 2016, he joined the Criminal Investigations Unit to become a detective, and he's been in there ever since. The reason why the city manager mentioned doesn't know if he's going to retire, Larry actually wanted to retire a couple years ago. And due to staffing, due to departmental needs, he kept putting us above his own. And I think he's finally going to retire on Monday. I'm still working on it, but he actually submitted about 5 memos of retirement. And we kept changing the date. Finally, I just told him, just submit one without a date. So come Monday, he's going to be formally retired. He's going to be going to our reserve unit where he's going to still volunteer his time on the water and in the investigations unit. So he's not leaving us completely. During his 15 years here, he's received several awards. He was the Co-Officer of the Year in 2005, Special Recognition Award in 2007, Unit Commendation Award in 2008. He was the Officer of the Second Quarter in 2008, Exceptional Service Award in 2008, Officer of the Year again in 2012, Exceptional Team Performance Award in 2012, Special Recognition Award in 2014, and the Hurricane Irma Extraordinary Service Award in 2017, which occurred after one of his retirement dates, and he put that on hold to help the city out and help us out. So,
Thank you.
come on.
I'd like to thank, first of all, the city council for approving my acceptance as an officer years ago, but most importantly, the people I work with. Over 20 years ago, a friend of mine brought to my attention that Money Magazine indicated Punta Gorda was the place to retire. I'd never heard of it. I drove through here the first time, spent probably less than 10 minutes on 41 and said, no way. My friend convinced me to come back, look at it again, and I did, fell in love with it, and I can't tell you what a fantastic community you people have here. From the city council to the employees that work for the city, and most importantly, the police department. It's fantastic. I've become, I think, the beneficiary of a new family. I've got great people, great leaders that have directed me and instructed others on how to become great police officers. We have a police department that is top-notch without any doubt. Our new chief has just been fantastic. She's brought some great ideas. She's open, she's receptive. All of the other administrative leaders that you see here today are the same way. You can be very, very proud of them. I know I am, and I'm proud to be able to say I worked with them. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Get your plaque.
All right, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks, Larry.
My pleasure.
Congratulations. I'm gonna miss you. All
Okay.
right.
Now, the second award is for somebody, if you've been to our council meetings, you know quite well, because she's up talking to us pretty much at every single meeting. It's rare that she's not. 15 years of service, our zoning official, Lisa Hannon, and urban design manager, Joan LeBeau, will say a few words.
Good morning, everybody. For the record, Joan LeBeau, Urban Design. And today marks a very important milestone for Lisa, and I'm happy to participate in the recognition of her 15 years of city service. In addition to being a wife and a mother, and prior to her city employment, Lisa's work career included owning and operating a trucking business and working for a marine contracting company. In her off time, she is an avid flyer, having successfully completed and received her pilot's license, and most recently received her instrument rating certification. Her city employment began 15 years ago at Billings and Collection as a customer service representative, collecting payments in the drive-through window. I was told customers enjoyed coming through the drive-through, since Lisa used to give treats to the puppies as they came through. She then transferred to zoning and has continued to move through the system from zoning coordinator as a code compliance supervisor, and is now zoning official. Lisa continues to work with her staff, city residents, developers, land use attorneys, and local businesses, as well as others. She also has assisted in the 125th anniversary for the city, as well as the Christmas tree lighting. She does a variety of events and assists on many of them as well. She assists in handling other duties, including permit reviews of buildings, staff reports for land development, special exceptions, policy and procedure development, and implementation, as well as overseeing the code compliance group. Through the years, her talents and efforts have helped fuel the city's success. Together, we take pride in her accomplishments and her commitment to excellence. We congratulate her on achieving 15 years of service with the city and sincerely appreciate her hard work and efforts over the years. We wish her continued success and look forward to working together for many more years to come. Congratulations.
Thank you very much for the opportunities. As I said, I was the drive-through girl for a while. It was quite fun, but I look forward to many more years, and you guys will hear me talk later.
All right. Thank you, Lisa. Congratulations. Next on the agenda, we're going to have a legislative update from our U.S. Representative, Congressman Greg Stubbe. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Welcome, and thanks for having me in town. Greetings from Washington. It's right now snowing in Washington. This is my first week back, We've been up there ever since swearing in. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to answer any questions that you may have about things going on up there, kind of give you an update of where we are and where I sit on the different committees. So I've been appointed to 3 committees. I sit on the Judiciary Committee. We had a long 12-hour hearing last week. Within the Judiciary Committee, I sit on 3 subcommittees within the Judiciary's purview. I sit on Crime, Terrorism, and Homeland Security. I sit on Immigration and Citizenship. I sit on Antitrust, Commercial, and Administrative Law Subcommittee. I also sit on the Oversight Reform Committee, and then there's a subcommittee under Oversight called Government Operations that I sit on. And I also sit on Veterans Affairs. Being a military veteran, having served in Operation Iraqi Freedom, having actually gone through the VA appeals process and through the VA healthcare system, I certainly think I have the background and knowledge to be able to help on a lot of our VA healthcare issues. Within the VA Affairs Committee, I also sit on 2 subcommittees. One is Health, and the other is Disability Assistance and Memorial Affairs. We've got a lot of veterans in Charlotte County, and I'm sure you have a lot here in Punta Gorda, and so I think that's a great service to this district, to be able to have somebody that sits on those committees to be able to speak about veterans issues. Last week, we finally got a budget done, so we're now funded, the federal government's funded for the rest of the year. I'm sure you guys read about that in the paper, how that took several months to occur. We were supposed to have a district work week in January, and they canceled it because we had the shutdown. So we're now fully funded to the end of the year. I would imagine we're probably going to have another budget fight, either end of year, beginning next year for the that next year of funding. But we finally got that done. The members were able to come home to our districts and come and talk to our constituents and people in our district. So I'd love to hear if you guys have questions of me of things going on, or if there's specific issues that the city needs addressed up there. I did just meet with the Florida League of Cities last week. They came to Washington. There was a group of them, a couple of commissioners from Sanibel Island were there, and your leadership through the League of Cities. So they briefed me on some of the issues that the league has, but I'd love to hear if there's issues that are pertinent to the city. Yes, sir.
Hi, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
If you ever want to come to Punta Gorda and speak in front of a crowd, we'll make sure we have pickleball on the agenda.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to stand between you and pickleball, so I'll keep our remarks short.
First, we reached out to your staff very quickly after you got elected, and kudos to your staff, because we reached out for help regarding reimbursement from Hurricane Irma for our, the work that we did, seawalls and everything, and they reached out to FEMA right away, and we're getting some response. So for that, kudos.
Thank you. And anything as it relates to agencies like that, and I've heard, so yesterday I have 9 counties in my district. So we were in Polk County, DeSoto County, Hardy County yesterday, we're in Charlotte County today. I've heard a lot about the issues related to Irma and the FEMA funding. The citrus growers that I spoke to yesterday out in Hardy and DeSoto County having issues with the USDA funding on some of their issues as it relates to their crops. So if there's things that we can do from an agency perspective, I can be a huge asset for the city there. And it really just takes a phone call from me to the White House to get to the agency head or department that we need to unleash whatever it is that needs to get accomplished. So thanks for saying what you said about staff. People don't realize it takes some time in a transition to staff up the type of people that you need. But if anybody here in Punta Gorda ever needs anything, Sydney Gruters is my district director. She's in charge of everything in the district. In all 9 counties, and Libby, I don't think Libby's here, right? She's back in the office. Libby is our district director, who's been with me for a couple of years. So you have somebody that will be here full-time in the district. She's here full-time. And then when I'm in Washington, obviously, if there's things that we can be assistance of, please let us know.
Well, Sydney and Libby stepped up to the plate immediately.
Good.
Yes, they arranged meetings with us, which was really great, to be able to have one-on-one meetings with council members. So that was awesome. Are you maintaining your office here in?
Yes, we actually have a meeting there after this. We actually are opening another office. The district's so large, and South Sarasota felt kind of neglected that we didn't have an office there. They didn't feel represented. So we're keeping the Punta Gorda office. We have an office in Okeechobee. We have an office in Sebring, and we're opening an office in Sarasota. So we'll actually have 4 offices to serve the district. That will allow within the district pretty much 30-minute drive for anybody anywhere in the 9 county. And I go from Bartow and southern Polk County all the way to northern Lee County, all the way east to Palm Beach, all of Okeechobee, and then all the way here to the coast. So that will give constituents the ability to be able to get to a district office. We're also gonna do, now there's a Punta Gorda office here and we have a full-time staffer here that's here all the time. So anybody that needs anything from our office, there's a full-time staff person always here. But all, in the other locations and the other cities, we're gonna be doing mobile office hours to ensure that people in the different communities have the opportunity to talk to our staff or myself on issues, whether it be the VA, whether it be Social Security, whatever their issues may be, that we can assist them on. So we're absolutely keeping the office here.
Good, good.
And it's actually like a 6-minute walk that way.
Yes.
So, when you're done with pickleball, if you want to come stop by.
Are there questions? Yeah, thank you for coming here.
I would like to leave just a little comment with you, if I may. We have, based here in our area, the Charlotte Harbor Natural Estuary Program, and I would just ask you to kind of take a look at it. Funding is becoming somewhat of an issue with them from a federal standpoint. They do a great job of accumulating data and education of the area. It's one of the largest natural estuary programs in the country. Their work does not only about environmental issues, but it's also sustaining the asset of the harbor and the waterways. They have just been expanded to include all the way up to Lake Okeechobee.
Okay.
So when you hear about red tide issues, et cetera, they're right in the middle of the foray. Sometime when you're in town, if you have a couple minutes, I would just recommend or urge you to just walk down the hall and introduce yourself to Jennifer Heckler, who's the head of that program. They do it with a very minimal staff, and their work is absolutely great.
So to that point, thank you for that, and I wrote that down. But the meeting I have at 10:30 is a water policy, water quality meeting with Jennifer.
Okay.
She.
Thank you for preempting me.
Yeah. So we're thinking along the same lines. So obviously that's a huge important issue, not just to Punta Gorda, but to this district, because I go from Lake Okeechobee all the way to here. So I've made it a point to, so we have a county commissioner, there's a panel, there's like 6. So at 10:30 this morning, we're gonna talk about those issues and see how I can get engaged on those issues at the national level to be able to bring funding down. Right before I got elected, they were able to get $500 million to rebuild the Herbert Hoover Dike. So that will increase the levee, so to speak. So they'll be able to keep, I think it's another 2 or 3 feet of water, which is, I think it's like 800 billion gallons more. So we'll reduce the amount of discharges that the lake has to do. So that will help tremendously. Unfortunately, it's just going to take time for those infrastructure projects to be built. But those are things I'm focused on, and I appreciate you bringing that up. And I will keep on that. And I'm looking forward to hearing from her and the other folks today on water quality issues.
Well, I'm sure that you heard from Southwest Florida League of Cities on water quality issues, because that seems to be on the top of everybody's radar screen, and I know that is here as well. Ultimately, septic to sewer conversion is a key component of that, but.
Well, and I think, and I talked to Commissioner Daugherty yesterday on the phone, I think that the federal government, having served in the state legislature for 8 years, there's a little bit of sharing that goes on from the cost, but I think the federal government, in my opinion, a lot of the issues that we deal with from a water quality standpoint are because we haven't transitioned from septic to sewer, and there's tons of facts to be able to back that up. And I think the federal government needs to play their role in assisting local governments from doing the septic to sewer conversions. And so I'm hopeful that we can get some funding for those type of programs federally to be able to draw down and then help local governments and help state governments, because I think that's an important piece of all of this to be able to do those conversions. And I've applauded, I told Commissioner Daugherty on the phone yesterday, I've applauded Charlotte County for the things that they've done and being proactive in doing those programs, because I think that's a piece of the puzzle to help as it relates to nutrients in our water system. And I think that goes a long way, and I think the federal government should start playing a role in that nationally where we can.
We're using their same consultants, and so we're following along in their footsteps. And so that our plan is lockstep with them, and so we appreciate hearing what you have to say about
Well,
that,
let's talk
because we're
about-
going to be needing
Well,
some
let's
help.
talk about what point you guys are gonna do those, because maybe I can get some federal funding to assist.
That's great.
Great.
That's
Say hi
great.
to Jennifer for me.
Okay, will do.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Thank you.
Have a
You
good
bet.
day.
Thank you.
All right, thank you that's great. We'll move into our next segment, the public hearing. Oh, thank you. Introduction of board committee member nominees. If there's anyone who has applied for a board or a committee member, would like to introduce themselves, please step to the podium and we welcome you to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Wendy Mueller, Olympia Avenue. I am applying for the Board of Zoning Appeals alternate. I have 40 years of business experience behind me and 35 years of building projects, commercial and residential, and feel this would be something that I would fit in very well with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Bill Hughes. I've been a full-time resident of Punta Gorda since 2001. I've put my name in to be considered for appointment to the Pickleball Committee. Some of my qualifications don't compare to the people before me, but I have been a volunteer policeman for 10 years. I served on the City Council Review Committee. I'm active on the LDR committees. I've been a homeowner president for 7 years, and I think, and the Burnstall Canal Advisory, I'm finishing my term, my full term, where I was chairman for 3 years. So I think my past involvement would qualify me to be considered as a member of the Pickleball Committee. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning.
Good morning. Council members, my name is Debbie Sarkeesian, and I live at 910 Connected Drive. I would appreciate your consideration for my application for service on the up-and-coming Pickleball Committee. I'm a Punta Gorda City resident, and I am in District 2, and I'm an avid pickleball player. I'm interested in serving my community and being a voice for my fellow pickleball players by participating on this committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, council members. I'm Jeff Carmen, 309 Shreve. I'm a quasi-pickleball player, but have a great interest in it. I'm applying for the committee for pickleball for the city. Been on many HOA associations, been in my own private practice in the insurance estate planning area for the last 45 years, and I have a very rational head. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Nora Jardina. I am applying for the Code Enforcement Committee. I have, my husband and I moved here from New Jersey. I'm a full-time resident, reside at 2060 Via Venice. I am retired now, a former business owner in New Jersey, owning a hospice. I'm a hospice nurse, and really look forward to really giving back to the community and being involved. And I think that you can't be a good member of your community if you're not involved and helping with all of the projects that need to get done.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, then we will move on to our public hearing agenda. We have 2 public hearings.
Yes, and this is the first reading of an ordinance that I'll read by title only. An ordinance of the City of Punta Gorda, Florida, amending Chapter 26, Article 8, Section 8.3 Punta Gorda Code, providing exclusions from height limits for radio antennas and deleting provisions relating to a waiver from height limitations, providing for conflict and severability, and providing an effective date.
Good morning, Lisa Hannon, zoning official. Currently, our code provides certain exclusions from height limitations, which is capped at 20% of the permitted height in that zoning district. It also states that the city may grant a waiver to these limitations. However, there's no process in place for such waiver. The proposed ordinance provides for these exclusions from height limitations for radio antennas and deletes the provisions relating to a waiver from height limitations. So it's pretty simple and straightforward.
And if I might, the genesis of this ordinance, some time ago, there was a request for relief from the height limitations using the waiver process, which did not exist. So that prompted the development of an ordinance with certain regulations that were shared with us from various organizations of the amateur radio operators. A while back, an ordinance came before you with that type of regulatory process. And after public comment, the city council decided, let's do away with all of that red tape and let's have a very simple ordinance, which is before you today.
And we had much discussion. Are there any comments from council members? Debbie, you look like you want to say something.
I have a question. I wasn't on council when the original, but I was in the audience when the presentations were being made. Is there any foreseeable problem with the fact that it says unlimited? I have had some people question me on that. What, do they still have to get a permit? No.
No, no permit is
So
required.
unlimited could mean really and truly unlimited.
Yes, ma'am.
But probably with that, I mean, if it would say, if you're gonna do that, you'd have to have your guide wires to be a certain, I mean, their land can only be so big. They only can go so high based on the size of their lot, I would assume.
I believe the lot size would prohibit and regulate the type of height and again, the engineering that is gonna go along with the type of antennas that would go up. And we've heard from a lot of the amateur radio operators saying that they only need a certain amount of height anyway, so they do not foresee anybody trying to put up a 100-foot
Yes.
tower.
Well, this is a public hearing, so if you would like, we can open this up to the public hearing, and then we can have more comments afterwards? Okay, so this is a public hearing. If anyone would like to make a comment, please come to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, Bob Fritz, Bernstone Isles, licensed amateur radio operator. Just like to thank the city council for sending the old ordinance back for revision. Thank Mr. Levin. And thank the planning commission for approving this ordinance. And hopefully this will be approved today. And if anyone ever doubts the importance of amateur radio, just Google amateur radio during Hurricane Michael. Wealth of information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is David Shaw. My Federal Communications Commission license is K4DES. I live in Bernstone Isles within the city limits of Punta Gorda. As a member of the amateur radio community in the city, I just want to thank the Planning Commission, the Zoning Board, and you folks on the council for putting together an ordinance that's really simple and effective. And I want to assure you that with this ordinance, you can expect continued emergency communication support during emergency situations like we had with Hurricane Charlie and most recently with Hurricane Irma. On this particular ordinance, you definitely got it right, and I want to thank you again for that.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ron Farley. KG4QIV is my radio name. Thank you for your hard work and effort, and really appreciate the Planning Committee's effort on this ordinance. Regarding the height of the towers, first of all, real high towers are super expensive, so there's a financial end of it. But exactly to Jaya's comment, because of the guying and also the depth of the soil structure and the water tables and the soil conditions, you're very limited by that. And I don't want to get into all the engineering, but no, you're exactly right there. So, and being an amateur radio operator for about 15 years, majority of all the amateur radio guys I've met and ladies too, we're fairly reasonable folks, and we want to be a good steward of our community, as well as provide emergency and backup communications for the city and surrounding county in the event of a wide area emergency or other event that the city or county may need help with. So I would encourage you to accept this, and we'll do our best to be a good steward of our neighborhood and be there for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Last call.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
There's been a motion to close the public hearing in a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. Okay, comments, questions?
I would like to thank staff for doing all the revisions to this ordinance and making it nice and simple. And thanks to all the amateur radio operators that are here and in the community that provide this invaluable service for us. I can tell you, having lived through a couple of massive hurricanes in this area, it was incredibly wonderful to have your service available and keep people in the loop and keep communications flowing when we needed it with federal emergency management. So I am totally in support of this, and if anybody has any other discussion, we can do that, but I'll make a motion when it's ready.
I would just concur with you. My father-in-law was a amateur radio operator, and I know the devotion that there is to helping the community and personally, and so it's good that we are not trying to do something to conflict or do something that's going to impede that communication. And there are already regulations, federal regulations out there, so we have to those supersede us, so. Comments?
I'm absolutely delighted we got to this point. This has been a discussion that's been going on in my tenure on council. I know a bunch of you guys. They are reasonable people. They've worked with us. We've tried to work with them. We got through the details, and then we got to the KISS principle, which is keep it simple. And I'm just delighted that we got here today. That's all I need to say.
Okay. Go for it.
And also, thank you to the Planning Commission for all of your efforts on this, too, because there were a lot of discussions at Planning Commission meetings for this subject. So with that, I would make a motion to accept ZA-09-18.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to accept ZA-09-18. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Next is ZA-10-18, which is the first reading of an ordinance that I'll read by title only. An ordinance of the City of Punta Gorda, Florida, amending Chapter 26, Punta Gorda Code, known as the Land Development Regulations, amending Article 10, Parking and Loading, Section 10.3, Parking Specifications, by adding new subsections J and K to provide for optional electrical vehicle parking and charging station facilities, providing for conflict and severability, and providing an effective date.
Good morning again, Lisa Hannon, zoning official. Our code currently does not contain any provisions for off-street parking facilities for electric vehicles. Since we do have an upsurge in electric vehicles in the community, staff wanted to provide private developers the opportunity to voluntarily install these facilities if they wished, and we also wanted to provide the design guidelines for such facilities. Urban Design recommends approval, and Planning Commission recommended approval 6-1.
Okay. Are there comments or questions for Lisa? This is a public hearing, so we will take citizen comments on this particular item. If you have comments, please step to the podium, and you have 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes if you'd like to come to the podium. All right, last call.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, comments, questions? I just had one comment that was brought up to me by some residents, and that was that wondering if we should add some language that that a vehicle must be charging when they're occupying this particular space as opposed to just parking there.
Since this is on private property, it would be hard for us to enforce that.
Okay.
Unless it would be a public space where we have an ordinance regarding traffic or something like that. But I believe when it's on private property, they would have to be the enforcers of the parking facilities.
Okay.
As distinguished from disabled parking, which is authorized by, or regulated by state law, for example.
Okay, okay. That's a good point. Thank you. Gary?
We had discussed this issue about the regulation when we had discussed previous council meetings about putting in the Tesla charging stations. And then we elected not to do that because of the inability to charge other cars with that. So I think at some point in time, though, we may need to address that issue if the time does come where we do put in public charging facilities. But I think at this point in time, we're okay.
Okay.
To that point, Gary, I have talked with Chris Freeland, who owns Harbor Nissan, and he has a couple of them at his dealership for vehicles that might need the service. He says that there is now an adapter that you can, his plugs are generic plugs for most of the other electric vehicles, non-Tesla vehicles, but there's now an adapter plug that Tesla vehicles can use to hook up to those charging stations. So that is an available source now, so that, they didn't have that a couple of years ago.
And we would need to verify, the question that we had was, is that there weren't, at the time we had the discussion, there weren't adapters from the Tesla charger to the other cars.
Right, so so what he has are the ones that are for all the other cars, but
Right.
Tesla can
Yeah.
connect
The-
to
The
them.
thing with the Tesla chargers is they would give us two.
Well, yeah, Tesla may not have the same flexibility going the other
Yeah.
direction.
And that was the issue, was
Tesla was
you
willing
couldn't
to-
go from Tesla to the others.
Right, they were willing to put some in,
Right.
but they're proprietary. So that means that anybody else who has an electric vehicle can't use those, so.
Right, yeah, that's exactly right. But just to be clear, the city is not talking about putting in stations.
No.
This is for any private businesses that would choose to do this.
That is correct.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
We'll just make a motion for approval.
Second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second for approval of, I'll get the number back here, ZA-10-18. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, we will move to the consent agenda. And the first thing that we will do is, I guess I will ask council members if there's anyone who wants to pull anything from the consent agenda?
No.
Okay. Then we will take citizens' comments on consent agenda items only, which will be the approval of the minutes, invoice from Pearson and Cohen, PA, an event permit, and a Helping Emergency Responders Obtain Support program, HEROES program. If anyone wants to comment on any of those items, you please step to the podium. You have 3 minutes. Okay, seeing no rush to the podium at this point,
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
there's been a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. So we will move to the regular agenda. And the regular agenda items, and we will start off with citizens' comments on the regular agenda items. That includes the citywide master plan, additional services, transportation activity, the pickleball court sound abatement, a resolution accepting a bill of sale from D.R. Horton, dredging of Ponce Inlet, and also I would include in that the item on the city attorney's agenda, which includes the Volchko and Turnbull versus the city case. So if there's anyone who wishes to make a comment, let me state. You come to the podium, you'll have 3 minutes. I ask that there be no applause. We're not cheering for each other because there are people who